Hello and welcome everybody to this new episode of XTB Live News. My name is Walid Koudmani, market analyst for XTB. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the main events happening in the markets today, Monday, the 12th of April, 2021, what we can keep an eye on the economic calendar, and what are some of the major moves happening on the markets when we go and take a look at the charts. So let's start with a recap of the weekend and what happened in the first part of today's session. So stocks in Asia were trading lower at the beginning of the week, with the Nikkei dropping 0.6%, while also the Chinese indices were declining. The DAX was pointing to a lower opening of the European session, but we saw some mixed performance there, with some indices clearly outperforming the others. The Fed Chairman Powell said that the economic activity is expected to pick up faster as job creation remains strong. So these are positive comments that then go and impact the outlook that the markets have. And so it's very important also to keep an eye on the central bankers, in particular the heads of the central banks. We saw also Bitcoin testing and reaching $61,000. So the crypto market is also increasing, while today we're going to be taking a look at as well some traditional currencies. When it comes to the economic calendar, not much in the way of macro releases, but we did have an ECB speaker from the European Central Bank. We'll have a Fed speaker at 6 p.m. And today marks the start of the U.S. earnings season. So the U.S. earnings season for the first quarter of 2021, it's very important because these are all going to be the figures that are going to be showing what's been happening in the first few months of this year. So the earnings season, as always, it tends to have the similar cycles. The first week of the earnings season generally tends to include a lot of big banks and investment funds. So those will be coming later in the week. But today, as of today, we just have Afria before the market open. And we will keep you up to date as well on the upcoming key earning reports to keep an eye on. If we go and take a look at the charts real quick, let's start with the DAX, as I mentioned. So the DAX was actually able to maintain roughly the range that it was trading in from the end of last week. And you can see that it's been quite consistent with this lower limit holding pretty strong around 15,168 points. Before that, of course, we saw this consolidation here. And after a rebound from this area of 14,430 points, we saw this huge upward move where the index and in fact other indices as well, some of the other indices were also reaching all-time high after all-time high. See, it's quite impressive also. Over 6% to the top, but now it's still over 5.75%. The RSI is also important to keep an eye on. We see it a little bit on the upside, but let's take a look at other indices because the situation is not the same. In fact, if you look at the UK 100 index, so the London Stock Exchange, you'll see that after a brief attempt to remain in the uptrend, which also was following the uptrend or similar to the one seen for the DAX, we saw this, instead of consolidating, we're seeing this pullback with a drop of over 1.5%, reaching a low of 6,808 points, roughly around this area that acted as a resistance in the past. Let's take a look at US indices. We'll see that this is US 500, which of course, after reaching a new all-time high, again pulled back. This is a situation a little bit more similar to the DAX. We can see that before the open, it's testing or just above the 8 SMA and of course, well above the 21 SMA or quite significantly above. Still in an uptrend, as you can see, in the short to midterm. Of course, before from here to here was about 3.7%. So that only increased, in fact, by quite a lot. If we instead take a look at the US tech index, so the Nasdaq, which again managed to recover from these lows reached in the last few weeks, and at the end of the month of March, we saw that it consolidated around this area. But ever since the beginning of April, you can see here from the 31st of March and then into the beginning of April, we've seen this huge uptrend, over 7%, and the index is now approaching 13,800 points. And in fact, its all-time high of 13,900 points. Some of you may remember we were actually discussing this in the past live news videos we did, where I showed you the difference between the S&P and the US 100, where they were both in an uptrend, but the S&P was obviously approaching or breaking all-time highs, while the US 100 was in fact still about 1,000 points away from its all-time high. But now that situation is no longer the case. We now are approaching the all-time high of 13,900, and they tend to be the strongest, or some of the strongest resistances are the all-time highs, because of course above that there is nothing. But it also is now in a previous area of reaction. So we saw after it approached the all-time high last time, we saw this huge drop for the US 100, over 11%, almost 12, actually over 12%, and then now quite a rebound. So when we take a look at commodities for a second, let's take a look at gold. Of course, gold still managing to continue the recovery from the very negative performances seen in the past, but after rebounding twice from this area of 1678, we saw the second rebound, led it also once again to test the similar resistance as last time, 1755, and once again it's starting to pull back with a consolidation. So we are seeing a similar pattern to what happened in the past. Of course, past performance does not reflect future performance, but at the same time, it's interesting to note that after reaching a low, let's say if it broke down from here, it reached this low, and then rebounded, consolidated here slightly, and then broke to this high. But then this acted as a resistance. We saw the consolidation and the pullback, similar support, similar resistance, and now a consolidation. But as you can see, there are slight differences because on the second uptrend here, there aren't as many downtrend or corrections, let's say. But it does remain to be seen. Of course, now it's trading around 1740. Breaking through the Ichimoku cloud. Silver, on the other hand, is below the Ichimoku cloud on the 1 hour time frame after managing to reach a high of 25.6, and now is down about almost 2% as it trades around this area. If we take a look at oil, so oil, positive start to the week after this negative, so a positive gap, so an upward gap, then a pullback, but then rebounding from this area, which, as you can see, quite a lot of consolidation in this area, sideways movements, and briefly breaking below the Ichimoku cloud and then rebounding. This is Brent, up 2% from the low today, or a bit below 2% at this point, trading around 63, 64, but it's still significantly lower from, obviously, the range we were reaching at the in March. WTI, similar situation, but it is approaching a key level, as you can see, also intersecting the SMAs, and just testing the Ichimoku cloud and the key level of $60, which it struggled to stay above, as you can see these up and down moves. But again, these are very important to keep an eye on because potentially what comments like Powell's comments can help the overall mood, which then can help, let's say, the perspective of reopening the economy, which is a huge part of the demand for oil, obviously. And also we saw the OPEC agreements to extend, to rather reintroduce some supply in the hopes that obviously the demand would increase. Let's take a look finally at some currencies. Today, the US dollar is one of the weaker currencies, as you can see, trading lower against all of these while trading slightly higher against these. The euro is mixed, while the pound is in fact one of the best performing currencies, except for well, the yen is also a good performing currency except for the pound. All these are trading mixed, as you can see, but let's take a look at a couple of pairs. We can see that pound USD rebounding once again from 136.7, which in the past acted as a support. Not as much here, although it's a price reaction area, but here definitely seemed to act as a support and then led to an upward move. But then 139 appeared to be a significant resistance, again, that the price ran into. And then we saw this pullback once again, now currently approaching 137.7, which again acted as a price reaction. While the Euro USD pair, we'll take a look at here with the overlaid chart of the USD index. So you can see this is the USD index showing the strength of US dollar against a batch of currencies. As it decreases, we are also seeing an uptrend of the euro because both the euro is positive and the dollar is negative. So Euro USD, once again, above 119 after recovering from this low reached just at the end of March of 117. So you can see that there has been quite an upward move, but also the dollar was dominating for the past few weeks before that. So we saw that in this area, you can see that the US dollar index was actually increasing really quite significantly while we saw this pullback of the Euro USD pair. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget about our investing day, which is a very important event we hold for traders, where you can go and see the opinions of some experts on the markets. And of course, don't miss that. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Walid Koudmani. Take care and good luck with your trading.